In today's video, I'm going to be discussing how 8-9 figure brands in today's market are scaling their paid social in 2025. And I've noticed, being fortunate enough to work with over 100 plus brands in the last 6 to 7 years, I've noticed a big shift in how brands are actually approaching this, us included. In case you are a new viewer, before we actually get going in the video, this is just one of our own clients, just so you understand the type of caliber of clients that we're typically used to working with. In the first 7 days of this month, they generated over $500,000. As you can see, let me refresh so you know this is real. This is not a case study or anything. It's just for you to see the type of caliber of data that we have access to on a daily basis. Now, before we get right into the video, I want you to understand one simple thing when it comes to paid social media, okay? Because that is what we will be discussing in this video. How are brands actually scaling very, very aggressively in today's marketplace, right? And so there's one quick thing that I want to say. It's not the ad account structure that actually matters. It's what you provide to the ad account that matters the most. So I hear a lot of people, including like multi 7 and 8 figure brands, speaking about how they should use ABO or CBO or a particular type of ad account structure. This is by far the last thing you should worry about. The ad account structure helps with scaling once you have the right assets that you're giving to it, or the assets could be a creative, could be a specific video, a specific script you're using, but it also includes the backend, including the offer and the sales process, the advertorial. Anything you give to the ad account is what is actually going to give you the performance, right? And a lot of people, everybody tends to, not everybody, but a lot of people, maybe 90-95% of marketers tend to forget about this. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the old way of actually going about Facebook ads, meta ads, social media ads, and how people are scaling or were scaling in the market, or I guess how people are still scaling today, and then what the shift should be. I'm basically going to be comparing the old way versus the new way and what's really working well for us and our clients, okay? At least for us. And so let me just start with this quick diagram. A lot of marketers, and I also have some quick snippets here to read. This was actually an audit that I did for a brand that my team and I did together for a brand, but I kind of transformed it into a video just because it actually touches based on really, really important concepts. So first of all, we have to understand that most people, whenever they do marketing on social media ads or any platform in general, they pretty much go after very, very broad super high TAM markets. In this case, we are going to be discussing and doing some direct examples of like health and wellness companies. And as you can see over here, I have like several examples and real life examples and funnels that I have created specifically, right, to share with you in this video so that you can see exactly what ad to advertorial to offer looks like when we're doing the new way of doing this, which I'll be discussing in just a second. But let's discuss the old way. So stick until the end of the video if you want to see the new way. But the old way is basically going after red ocean markets. These markets are typically like super high TAM, maybe like, $50 billion. And they're also the types of markets that just give you very, very high costs because all the marketers in the marketplace are trying to promote and sell to the same exact person. So essentially, when people are scrolling on the feed, they're seeing like 50 to 100 ads of like the same exact marketer, different brands, right? And so they're getting fed a bunch of different ads, and that's exactly why your CPMs are like $100, and it's hard to scale. And so as I say over here, let's just take the health and wellness space because it's what this video is about, but this could be in any other space. The health and wellness space has become 100 times more saturated and competitive over the last 5-10 years, and this creates higher CPM, as I just said, lower funnel metrics, and it becomes hard to scale. Of course, if your cost, CPM is basically directly related to how expensive your marketing is. If these costs are higher, it's of course more expensive to market. What tends to happen then is that once people choose a specific red ocean market, they do very, very broad ads. And the reason that I think it's just not the way to do it in 2025, it's because going after broad ads, once again, increases your cost and it decreases the level of personalization and relevance of the actual ad. And so as I say over here, broad ads can be great for attracting more people right into a funnel, especially if you have a super high converting funnel. You can also attempt like a very, very broad kind of messaging. Over time your costs will decrease, but even if you're getting so many people in, because you're getting many people in and you have like decent conversion rate on your funnel, then maybe something could work, but it's becoming a lot harder to do this methodology of scaling. And so at the same time, it can be a double-edged sword, as I said, right? Generating broad ads means decreasing the level of personalization. People relate less to what they are seeing. This also means that you need 10x your efforts on the funnel side to make the front end also kind of work. At the end of the day, it's like data in, data out. It needs to be profitable, right? And so going very broad can work, but it becomes hard to scale over time due to rising cost and due to also rising competition. And so once again, broad ads, and they go to like a direct offer that is just broad marketing. What does this mean? It means that we're not addressing pain points to a specific persona, but we're like addressing kind of like health and wellness pain points across like 3, 4, 5, 10 different types of personas. And so when people land, they do maybe resonate with part of your page, but they don't resonate with the entire page. So then you have to ask yourself which one is better, right? Of course, this is maybe a bit more scalable at the start, but if you have a good systems and processes and team, you can scale the other methodology, which I'm going to speak about in just a second, in a lot more smooth way. And so as I say here, it becomes harder and harder to aggressively scale the paid advertising side of the business with broad avatars. The opportunity in the saturated space is moving more towards targeted, specific, long tail avatars, which is exactly what I'm going to share with you in this video, that have specific desires, pain points, and aspirations, okay? This is essentially what the broad funnel looks like. You're going after like 30, 40, 50, $100 billion markets that have a big time. And then, as I say, this is most likely your funnel. It attracts a very broad market on the front end, and users move forward on the funnel. The more they move on, and the more you're drastically losing people. And so you end up having like 1-2% conversion rate. And that's typically not enough to sustain expensive marketing, especially if you're going after competitive marketplaces, like a very high TAM, very competitive market, right? And so this is what the funnel typically looks like. You're attracting so many people, right? And then your funnel just gets worse and worse until you're losing so many people. And at that point, it's just a matter of, hey, is this actually scalable and profitable, right? So let's talk about the new way of actually doing this and the way that has really been working well for us. It all starts with research. So we do deep research on the market and the avatar, right? So essentially what we're doing here, let me just read it. We dive deep into specific market segments, understanding their desires and pain points and psychology at a granular level, as I say. And through detailed avatar research, we also uncover highly targeted long-tail personas. A long-tail persona is not like, Bob that has back pain. It's Bob that has back pain that is working 9 to 5, that is, has 2 to 3 kids, and he wants to be present with his kids, and that's why he wants to fix his back pain. So it's like, it's a long tail avatar, not a short tail. The more you go long tail, and the more the TAM of the market typically decreases, because you're going after more specific people. It makes sense, right? And so these are not broad audiences, they're deeply defined, okay? Very deeply defined. And so once we do all the research, then we try to structure a blue ocean avatar, right? This red ocean is basically, right, this is you in a saturated market, and we don't want to be that person. We don't want to compete with like 3,000 brands. We maybe prefer to compete with like 10, 20, 30, right? It's easier to advertise. And so we're going after blue ocean markets within a big TAM, which is the red ocean market. So same vertical, just more specific, which creates less competition. Okay, let me just read what I say over here. We target blue ocean avatars, or at the very least under marketed segments within saturated markets. Okay, this is important. We go after big markets, saturated markets, but under marketed segments. People that are being less marketed to within that saturated market. So even when others are speaking to these audiences, our messaging is so specific and dialed in that it cuts through the noise and deeply resonates. That is actually what we want to achieve over here. And so once we understand this process, once we did the research, we know everything about the market, about the avatars, we choose specific avatars to target, and then we craft avatar-specific ads. And so we directly call, as I write over here, we call out the specific avatar, which allows us to achieve lower CPMs, typically, not every time, if it's the right avatar that has a restricted TAM, but big enough TAM to scale. Because once again, I'm going to talk about this in just a second, but when you choose a market, even if it's a long tail avatar, you still have to make sure that your market, your TAM, your addressable market is big enough. Because if it's too restricted, you're going to get high CPMs regardless, because you don't have enough of an audience. And so it becomes expensive to target to these people, because there's no audience and Facebook can't really find them. And so it's more expensive. So we would still want to find like long tail avatars that have big TAMs, but we're not going after like the $50 billion TAM. Maybe we're going after a $1, $2, or $3 billion TAM, which is still very scalable. Imagine getting 0.5% or 1% of that market. You have an 8-figure brand just with one avatar, right? And so that's the type of avatar that we want to go with. Typically, when we do these types of ads, and I'm going to show you the examples in just a second, we have lower CPMs through a blue ocean approach. Our ads drive higher CTRs because there's strong engagement, and because the relevance of the ad is high, and overall everything is hyper relevant, as I say here, to each persona. And so the result is boosted performance across the entire funnel, right? Now, once we have something that is very specific, or at least a lot more specific compared to the approach that I showed you before, the old way, then we're sending these people to step 1, step 2, step 3. This is basically the funnel, right? And so a completely personalized sales process that is specific to this avatar, long-tailed avatar, right? The Bob that has back pain, that is trying to get back with the kids, and because of that, you get the point. And so just imagine from a customer perspective, if you were the customer, at the end of the day, we have to think simply about these things. If you were the customer, with which funnel would you resonate the most, right? I'll leave the answer to you. And so this is a sales process that is congruent, and it has high levels of resonation with the avatar itself, okay? Hopefully this makes sense. And overall, of course, this is actually going to be the funnel. It's not going to be something like this where we have something, huge, broad approach and then going after like super specific, but we're still going after like big markets, billion-dollar markets, right? But they're a lot more specific. And so this approach, as I say over here, this funnel goes after small addressable markets, but big enough to scale, right? Really important, big enough to scale. I see the error that sometimes it's too long tail and you go after like 50,000 people that have maybe a $30 million market. It's too small. If you get 100% of the market, the most you can scale is to $30 million, which is not a good market, right? So this approach is actually driven to scale horizontally, right? So once we build this funnel, which as you can see, like it's not small, it doesn't go from like everyone to like super small conversion rates. We're not losing people. We're like, of course we're going to lose people, but we're gradually losing people at a much more sustainable rate. So the result over here is a sticky funnel with minimal drop off. Every step feels tailored, and it keeps people engaged and moving forward because it's specific to them. And typically these conversion rates are 3, 4, 5, 10%. I've seen conversion rates go up to like 12% in some cases because it's so personalized. So imagine, and this number also is, goes up and down depending on the average order value. If you have a $500 average order value, even like a 1-2% conversion rate, it's like amazing, right? But I'm assuming that you're selling a $50 to $100 product, which is most people that I speak to, maybe $150. And so, this is what we want to achieve. Not 1-2%, as for the sake of the example, but actually like double, triple, or quadruple the conversion rate just because we're being a lot more tailored. So let's actually go through some real life examples. Keep in mind, this was an audit, as I think I mentioned before in this video, for another company, right? And so it's related to health and wellness, but I want you to still go through this video with the idea that you can implement this exact same framework for any type of industry or product. And so what I'm gonna kind of like bring you through over here is kind of like a broad persona versus a targeted persona, which is kind of like the old approach versus the new approach. And then I'm going to bring you through an entire sales funnel from ad to advertorial to offer to page, and how you should show the things, because these are like things that we would personally test after our experience working with 7, 8, and in some cases also 9-figure companies. And so let's start with this. Broad persona, people who want to get more lean. This is like so broad. I want to get lean. My family members want to get lean. 20-year-olds want to get lean. 50-year-olds want to get lean, and for different reasons, right? So what we did over here is that the new approach would be going after specific long-tail avatars. And so a 25 to 40-year-old postpartum mom that just maybe had her baby, or it's been like 3, 4, 5 years that she had the baby and she can't get in her shape that she wants, or she was, and so she feels very stuck with weight and fat in her belly, and then she wants to get more lean and she feels stuck. And one thing that I want to say, if you have an avatar where whatever like the situation they're in, if they feel stuck and they're maybe in a situation where it's either they, like when you have menopause, right, or when you're like postpartum, you have no control over changing that, like you had the baby or you are in menopause, right? And so that is a problem that is just unavoidable. So if you can find situations where people are in, like the context of the situation is where they can't really control what they went through or what they're having right now, that is like very powerful because they're kind of stuck, right? And so the product would be like some sort of supplement or program or whatever you want, or a combination of both. So this is an idea of the funnel. We show a UGC ad that is super raw with like a mom holding the baby. The mom doing a selfie UGC, and while holding her baby, ranting about how much weight and fat she had gained due to her pregnancy. Right? She then organically mentions the brand and how it helped her go back in even better shape than what she was before the pregnancy. So this is something that should be super raw. In this case, it's mom resonating with mom with a baby. Then she goes over like a storytelling case study advertorial where it's something like, I didn't recognize my body after my baby. Here's what finally helped me feel like, here's what finally helped me feel like me again, right? Or how I lost the baby weight without giving up sleep, sanity, or carbs, right? And so in the storytelling advertorial, Molly, the postpartum mom, brings people through her story of how she completely changed her body after she delivered her baby, specifically how she got it back in like 90 days or something like that. And then she organically, introduces the product. So once again, everything is about, what's her name? Molly, right, in her experience. And then, of course, once we create the avatar, there's going to be other Mollys in the world, in the US and whatever, that are resonating with this specific exact story. And then they go to a product page or a sales page, and the entire sales page, as I say over here, should be directed to postpartum moms called Molly. Or, and they don't have to be Mollys, right? But they have to be at least postpartum moms. And so the product should ideally change. You can also change the naming convention to make it specifically for postpartum moms. Okay? These are just random screenshots of like articles, so don't actually watch that. It's not, we're not selling lion's mane gummies for pregnancy, right? So I'm not doing that stuff. These are just examples for you to see the funnel. Let's go over another example, right? A couple more. People who want to get rid of belly fat, which are different than people that want to get lean. They just want to get rid of the belly fat. So this is a targeted persona. So this is too broad based on my framework. And so the targeted persona is a 30-year-old Josh that works 10 plus hours a day on a desk, doesn't move, no diet, has belly fat, and has low self-esteem and can't find a girlfriend. So this is long tail, but you know how many people are like this in specifically like markets like the US, right? Where, there's a lot of like sedentary jobs, like 10 plus hours. Or first of all, many people are doing 10 plus hour days on the desk. Really relatable. A lot of people just don't move and don't have a diet, a lot, and they have a belly fat. Most people are obese. So there's a big kind of like addressable market, but because we're being so specific, there's a smaller TAM. It's not just people that want to get rid of belly fat. And so this is an example of a funnel. So we start with maybe testimonial type of ad, transformation. This should be a very kind of raw testimonial ad. And Josh brings people through the mental and physical struggles of being fat, looking bad, being insecure, and especially not being able to like get the dream girl that, he has wanted, and because he feels lonely, or because he's working so much, and because he's fat and he's insecure and he's losing kind of confidence, right? And so he's going through like, this is what I was before and this is who I am right now. And then it goes over to a transformational advertorial, right? How Josh lost 30 pounds in 5 months and went from a 3 out of 10 confidence level to a 9 out of 10. This is like, I think, super powerful headline. And so the advertorial can maybe be like a week by week transformation story. So week 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, where it's basically step by steps where people can relate and say, hey, this transformation that Josh had is something that I could achieve. And basically, Josh is telling people how it actually worked for him. And then based on after his experience, he recommends something, which is the brand and the product, that has really helped him move the needle forward psychologically, mentally, and physically, right? And so this is the thing. And then the product page, whatever, the entire sales page should be directed to Josh, single, with belly fat, and has a sedentary job. You get the point, right? One thing to note is like, I would actually build the entire funnel if you have the resources to really test it out, assuming you're super confident about the targeted persona and that it has enough TAM. Because if it doesn't have enough TAM, don't do it, because it can't. You're trying to scale something that can't scale in the first place. Keep that in mind. If you don't have the resources yet, start with just the front end with ads. If the ads work, right, send them to like a general product page. If the ads work and give you a good direction, good traction, very good, CPMs, cost per clicks, ROAS, then you can start personalizing the rest of the funnel. That's what I would do if you don't have the resources yet. Next thing, we have 2 more examples. Broad personas, people want to get more muscle. So they just want to bulk up. Too broad, there's a lot of people that just want to do that. And so it's probably like a multi-billion dollar market. And so we want to go after something a bit more specific. 20 to 35-year-old Gavin works out 3 to 4 times a week or every single day, eats a lot, trying to get muscle. Despite trying this for like, months to a year to like 5 years, he can't, and he doesn't get any results. And this is something he says: no matter how much I eat or lift, I still look like a string bean, right? Basically no result. You know how many people work out or trying to build up muscle? Building up muscle is something that is so hard. If you have like 2 or 3 kilograms, I think, of like muscle in a year, that's like if you increase your weight because you're like actually gaining muscle and not fat, it's a huge achievement within like a year, from what I know, based on fitness, right? And so like, this is like so hard and something so many people are trying to achieve, and it's specific, right? Because we can talk about them. And so this is an idea, like maybe a fit trainer talking about common mistakes, calling out the avatar. And so here we maybe want to have, I think it should be a man, because I think we're going after Gavin, right? So here you'd probably have like a super fit trainer where, as I say over here, the person, this is really important, the person in the ad should embody the transformation the avatar desires, right? And so their physique is the proof, their story is the case study, right? And so this person must speak directly to the avatar struggles, clearly calling out their daily mistakes, because of course we know them because of our research, outdated beliefs, and self-sabotaging habits, right? And the more precisely and personally the ad exposes the avatar's reality, the stronger the resonance. And so because the viewer doesn't just feel seen, they feel understood. That's what drives the click. You get the point. And so then it would go to an advertorial just written by the trainer once again. So ad is about the trainer talking about this, and that. Maybe it's like a VSL type of ad. And then, with explanations and scientific explanations. And then like a 7 reasons why advertorial where it's like 7 reasons why or 7 reasons you still can't build muscle even though you train hard, right? Big one. Or skinny but lifting, you're calling out the avatar directly, right? These 7 mistakes are why you're not gaining muscle, right? And so the advertorial should call out, people who've seen the training for months or have been trying to train for months or years, but still look like the same. No visible muscle, no definition, just frustration, no transformation. And so this would it breaks down the 7 key mistakes most people make when trying to bulk up, written by a trainer who's been there before. And so you get the point. And then this is, of course, the product page should immediately restate the problems listed in the advertorial. Training hard, eating more, etc., but still not building muscle. All the pain points should be used to reassure. The most important thing here is that the avatar knows and feels like he is in the right place. If people feel like they are feeling understood and you are touching base on the right pain points and they feel like they're in the right place, your conversion rates will go up, guaranteed. Okay, let's talk about one more before we go over another really important concept, which is how brands actually scale to like $10-50 million a month, okay, based on my research and my experience. So broad persona, women who want to get toned. Okay, this is maybe a bit more specific because we're talking about men or women, in this case women, who just want to get toned up. It's still broad. You know how many people are targeting this type of persona? A lot. And so the persona that is more targeted is a 40-year-old Sally that cannot get rid of her floppy arms. I've gone through this example several other times for my old viewers, that wants to get rid of her floppy arms. She can't lose more weight due to her being already skinny. So she basically is skinny, but even if she's skinny, she's like 50 and she still has flappy arms. So she can't get rid of her fat because she can't physically lose more weight or else she becomes unhealthy. So she just wants to get toned up. And so this is an example. Maybe we can do a VSL doctor ad, right? Where this could make sense to test. And this video should feature a doctor explaining example, right? How the female body changes with age. Slower metabolism, hormonal shifts, muscle loss, making it harder to lose fat, especially in the arms, and tone up. And so after presenting real scientific evidence, if you present scientific evidence that is like unbiased on the user perspective, right, then, they're going to listen to you more. And so after presenting scientific evidence, the doctor highlights why common approaches like excessive cardio or dieting often just backfires and it just doesn't work. And it's not like a long-term solution. And then the brand solution is then introduced organically, positioned as a smarter, scientific-backed method designed to blah, 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 designed for women over 40 who feel stuck and frustrated, essentially the Sally. And so then we can maybe go to a doctor case study or advertorial where it's like Harvard MD exposes why women that are 40 plus can't tone their arms and the one fix that changes everything. And so they go over, once again, scientific things, why this, why that. One other way to do this is maybe target a Sally who has menopause, and people that have menopause are typically their body and hormones change over time, which allows them gives them the flappy arms, etc. So this is maybe another avatar going after people that have menopause, and I can guarantee you everybody has menopause, and so it's a big addressable market. We're just being more specific once again. And then the sales page, as I say over here, should consistently emphasize the Sally feeling stuck, that she can't lose more weight to get rid of her flappy arms because she's already skinny, and should also restate and reinforce the scientific claims made on the doctor advertorial and in the ad, BSL doctor ad on the front end. Okay, so hopefully this makes a lot of sense. The long-term vision here, and listen to me clearly, is to scale horizontally as much as we can, right, with a wide range of specific avatars within the muscle building vertical in this example, right? Because we're doing, it could be muscle building, it could be, getting lean, getting fat. I guess I shouldn't write muscle building. This is just maybe a bit more specific, but just in our vertical, in our market. And so if we can create a system where instead of just going after 1 or 2 avatars, we go after specifically tailored long tail avatars, but we do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and create custom funnels, as I say over here, specifically to that avatar. Then we create a funnel that converts very, very high and that is scalable. It just tends to have a smaller addressable market, but it's not too small because then we wouldn't choose it, right? We're not going after $70 billion markets. We're going after $1, $2, $3 billion markets. In some cases, even $800 million markets, right? Where we can go in, get that market, own it, and just win, right? And so the example is kind of like this. Remember when there was going into software, there was Klaviyo, Klaviyo for email marketing. There was so many email marketing tools and I'm getting this example from what's his name, the founder of Hyros, Alex Becker. And so he's basically talking about how he failed his own business because he built an email marketing platform and he was just going after everybody. And then on the sidelines, there was Klaviyo that was specifically for e-commerce brands, right? Which of course was also a growing market, which helped them be profitable basically from day one, right? After building the SaaS, the advertising was just profitable because the message was so strong, the level of resonation was so strong that people just clicked, resonated, and converted, okay? So this is kind of what we're trying to do over here on a deeper level so that we can once again go through avatars. Also important is not to touch just one angle. Like one avatar can have multiple angles, right? If we target the, the fat person that is, works 10 hours a day on the desk and has, fat and wants to get rid of fat, the angles could be endless. The angle could be he wants to attract more girls and so he wants to lose fat, or he just wants to be more present and active for his family. That's a complete other angle. Or he wants to be back when he was like 25 so that it can, his wife can feel like the attraction level is still there. These are like completely three different angles, but it's important to test one avatar and like, at least 3, 4, 5, 6 angles, because then you're not giving it enough of a shot. Okay, so this is overall kind of like the thing here. The reason you see ceiling over here, this is basically me telling you that eventually there is going to be a ceiling, whether the avatar ceiling is at 200K a month or $1 million a month or whatever that is. It's going to be dependent on the product, the vertical, the avatar, how specific it is, the TAM, the addressable market, conversion rates within that vertical, many things, saturation, so many things. And so you're going to have to find your own ceilings, but this is kind of like how to scale to like 10 million plus per month based on, what I've seen work in the market. That is it for this video. If you are a brand doing $100,000 a month and you want kind of like an audit and you want to explore the opportunity of working with us, we have experience working with 8, 7-figure brands. Then book in a call, you're going to speak with me or one of my team members, and then on that call we can explore the opportunity of working together if it makes sense. Okay, that's it for this video, and see you in the next one. Bye.